older players on the team. He also said this is some old school football that's going to be played on Sunday with two aggressive defenses and extremely fast defense in the Jaguars as well.
Yeah, he said when he came into the league, this is what it was all about. You line up across from another man, and let's see who the strongest is or who the most physical is. Jacksonville's going to come right at you. If Leonard Fournette plays this week, he is the fire of that offense. The Jets are going to have to contain that Jacksonville running game. But you know what the Jaguars are going to do. They're going to pound you. They're going to come at you. They're going to try to control the line of scrimmage. The Jets, they controlled the line of scrimmage early against the Cleveland Browns. That went away in the second half. But when you think about a guy like Fournette, he had 150, close to 150 total yards when the Jets played him last season at MetLife Stadium. Jamal Adams, who we heard from at the top of the show, former teammate of him, said he's a guy who can get 2, 3, or 4 yards every carry because he's always moving forward. He's also a threat to get the ball out of the backfield and receiving game. He is the heart of that offense. McClendon, Jamal Adams, and company, Darren Lee, they all know that.
We're going to talk about Leonard Fournette a little bit later, but you mentioned Jamal Adams. We saw him at the top of the show. Well, his running mate, Marcus Maye, could be set for his regular season debut this Sunday.
Melbourne, Florida native, University of Florida Gator. You know he wants to go home in front of the hometown and get back there and have his first game in 2018. Missed the first 3 games. Doug Middleton got the starts. I thought Middleton played pretty well. But in May, you're adding another playmaker to the mix. He missed the first 3 games with that foot injury, but he's practiced full all week. Has had the helmet on out there, and he's chomping at the bit. Todd Bowles has not declared him 100% ready to go, but all signs point to a return for number 26.
Marcus Maye was 4th on the team in tackles last season. Who was 3rd? That was Jamal Adams. So the 1-2 punch there could be in effect in 2018 in Week 4, and it's been a little bit of a staggering debut for Marcus Maye because he hasn't touched the field yet. But something that sticks out to me, at least from last year, is Maye's ability to tackle in the open field. And I think that with him back there patrolling almost like a center fielder, I think that this Jets defense could take another step forward. Right now, through 3 games, the Jets have played well on the defensive side of the ball, I'd say. But what do you think Marcus Maye adds to this defense to take that next step?
Well, you just mentioned it, Greens. He's another playmaker. And in terms of the Jets defense, Jamal Adams is more of that strong safety. Yes, he can go out and cover, but you can use him close to the box. The guy who's going to be back when you're playing single safety high, that's Marcus Maye. And I saw him, especially late last season, and then once we saw him get on the field in training camp, I think his eyes are getting better as well. That's something Jamal Adams talked about, is that they're diagnosing quicker because they've seen some things from offenses before and they're moving quicker. So you get Adams back there, that's another guy who can make plays. And remember, the Jets had 5 interceptions in Week 1. They forced a couple takeaways against the Miami Dolphins. And Adams and Maye, those are 2 guys who can take the ball away. And in a game like this against Jacksonville, where there isn't going to be a lot of space and there probably isn't going to be a ton of points, turnovers, takeaways could be huge.
Marcus Maye, 2 interceptions in 2017. If he makes his debut, we'll see what happens there. Head coach Todd Bowles, he's going to speak after practice today. Obviously, practice has not happened yet. It will take place at 10:30. We anticipate Marcus Maye to practice like he has the first 2 days of this week. Yep. But head coach Todd Bowles will make an official declare after practice if he's in, if he's questionable, if he's doubtful or out. We'll see what happens. But earlier this week, Jamal Adams spoke to the media, and he talked about what it would be like if Marcus Maye and he were to take the field together.
Jamal, how big would it be to get Marcus back?
It would be huge, man. He's another playmaker in the back end, but, Doug has came in as well as Terrence Brooks and did a phenomenal job. But, when that time comes, we'll be prepared to, have him back out there.
You said you guys obviously talk a lot about kind of hoping he gets back.
Yeah.
What are kind of those discussions like?
Oh, man, that's my boy back there. 1-2 punch, and we understand each other when we're in the back end. We feed off each other as far as energy, confidence, and, just to have him back out there when that time comes is definitely going to be a fun time for me.
It feels like there's several plays he's seen that he feels like he could have made a big difference on so far.
He's a playmaker, man. He believes in himself. He believes he's one of the best, if not the best. And, again, we support that.
Welcome back to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen here in Florham Park, EA. Jets-Jags, Week 4, the quarter mark of the NFL season. If the Jets want to win this game and they want to come back to Florham Park after going down to Jacksonville with a win, 2-2 at the quarter mark, you got to get after the quarterback.
The Jets pass rush has really come on of late. You think about what they did against Miami and Ryan Tannehill. They had 4 sacks, and they came back last week on Thursday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns. They had 4 sacks to Rod Taylor. So that's 8 sacks in all. We're going to talk about Jacksonville, but think about it. Jacksonville so far this season has 7 sacks. The Jets, there's Buster Screen coming off the edge. And this is what Todd Bowles likes about this defense, is that since the coverage has been so good in the back end, at times he can send defensive backs on those blitzes and get after the quarterback. Jordan Jenkins making a sack there of Baker Mayfield in the second half against the Cleveland Browns. But the Jets, since the coverage, you have the ability now to play more man on the outside, bringing in a guy like Trumaine Johnson, and we know what Morris Claiborne can do. So that means he can put more numbers up front. Jordan Jenkins is off to a good start. We talk about opposite him, Brandon Copeland, of course, who came over from the Detroit Lions. He's brought some speed and athleticism. I mean, the Jets should get another shot in the arm this week, Greens, because Josh Martin cleared from concussion protocol. He could be in the lineup. Todd Bowles said, hey, I want to see if he can get up to speed. So that's another guy coming from the outside. And you got to love what Henry Anderson has done in his short tenure with the New York Jets. He came over in a draft day trade, on the third day of the draft. Mike McCagnon sends a 7th-round pick, and he gets great value in return getting Henry Anderson there. So all in all, the Jets are getting contributions from a lot of people. You want to win the early downs. We'll talk about it later here on Practice Today, because then you can get after Blake Bortles. Again, Jacksonville, they're all about getting 2 and 3 yards, 3 and 4 yards, so they're always in 3rd and shorts.
As it stands today, Avery Williamson and Jordan Jenkins both lead the team with 2 sacks a pop. And you talked about Bortles and this Jaguars offense. Well, they got a boost on the offensive line, and Andrew Norman, the left guard. And they're a little banged up front, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But as it stands, the Jaguars are tied for 2nd in sacks allowed. So really important for the Jets to get after Blake Bortles and someone that may or may not play this weekend. Yeah. We talked about him a little bit before. That's Leonard Fournette. You described him earlier this week as the light to this engine.
Yeah, listen, Fournette, he is the guy. So if he is in the game, that will be dependent on him. Now, he only had 5 carries in the season opener against the New York Giants. Most of those career stats you're looking at came in 2017. That was his rookie season. But they don't go away from who they are if Fournette is not in the lineup. They're still going to run the football a lot of bubble screens for the running backs out of the backfield. Yeldon has been the guy in his place who's been the workhorse, but they use all their backs. But if Fournette gets back in the lineup, he will be the guy. He's going to get the workload. He's going to get more than 20 carries, and you got to watch out for all these backs on the screens.
Leonard Fournette is a thumper. And we knew that when he came out of the draft from LSU. He was the 4th overall selection, 2 picks before Jamal Adams came to the Jets. And he's someone that last season you saw a little bit of receiving, not prowess, but you saw that he was capable of doing it. There were some knocks on his hands coming out of the draft, but he's really, like I said, like you said, he's the light to the Jaguars engine, because you know they're going to give it to him a ton of times. He only had 5 games over 100 yards rushing last year, and you can tell that teams really tailor to Fournette, because outside of those games, he averages 46 yards on the ground. So if the Jets can limit Fournette, assuming he plays, they'll have a pretty good chance of winning. But someone that's definitely going to play, that's Blake Bortles, that's the quarterback, and he gets a bad rap around the league. We spoke to John Oehser of Jaguars.com, and he said that in his past 19 or 20 games, he's been pretty good at handling adversity and coming off of a loss.
When I watched the AFC Championship game last year and I was watching Bortles, I'm like, yeah, this guy can play in the National Football League. Listen, he's had spots where he's looked really bad, awful at times. But I think he's come on. He's more than a serviceable quarterback. I don't know where you would rank him, Greens. But in weeks 1, And weeks 3 against the Giants and then the Tennessee Titans, the passing game wasn't there for Jacksonville. In week 2 against the aforementioned New England Patriots, Bortles went crazy through there. They played a lot of man coverage back there, and they tore them up. Now, listen, Tennessee's a good defense. The Giants have some good players. I think this is the best defense Blake Bortles will play so far in 2018. I really do. So he's going to be challenged by the Jets big time, I think.
So Blake Bortles, we talked about that he caught some steam at the end of last season. Well, in his first 8 games last season, he only had 1 game in which he threw for over 250 yards. Yeah. After the bye week, which was week 9, so weeks 10 to 17, he had 6 games where he threw for over 250 yards. So he really came on strong, as did this whole Jaguars team in the second half of the season.
You were talking about it before. The targets here for the Jags are
totally different than last season.
Yeah, Keenan Cole, I would say he's probably their top target. And then you think about Dante Moncrief, he's in the mix. I talked about the backs before. And then a former Jet, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. It was interesting. Casey Rogers said the guy Blake Bortles is looking for on 3rd down is ASJ.
Well, ASJ joined the Jags in the offseason, and he's probably their best tight end in a couple of years. Mercedes Lewis is the guy that's been there forever, but he was more of an inline blocker. And I know I have to mention your guy because you're a big college football guy. How about D.D. Westbrook? He's second on the team in receptions right now.
Well, we've heard enough of Baker Mayfield lately, so I don't want to bring up D.D.
No boomer sooner here. So one thing about Blake Bortles, though, is that he is 2-6 last season. The Jags are 2-6 when Blake Bortles throws an interception in 2017. So there's some food for thought.
They haven't turned the ball over. They only got a couple turnovers.
Doing a much better job this season, no doubt.
Again, that's that conservative ball control attack. So they're not going to take a lot of chances. In fact, that's the way Tennessee won last week. I said, we're going to crowd the box. Blake Bortles, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us over our heads. And he didn't take any shots down the field.
Well, someone that is going to have a very difficult test, and turnovers are going to play a big part of this Jets offense. How about Sam Darnold? This is definitely, I'd say, the best defense, the most experienced defense that he's faced to date.
I think Darnold is going to benefit from having some time off to decompress. He talked about it. He was on Inside the Jets Monday night with myself and Eric Coleman, and he said, hey, listen, I got away, went to dinner in the city, saw a concert, Ed Sheeran. He said he loved it. That was great. And then he had time to self-evaluate. And you talked about, hey, listen, what Darnold has to do, and he talked about it with reporters throughout the week, was I got to let it rip. So when I go through my progressions and I see it there, don't second guess, just let it go. Don't come back. Because we've seen that a couple times where he scuffled against the Cleveland Browns. And there are going to be bumps in the road along the way. Guys made 3 career starts in the National Football League. But all in all, Jeremy Bates, the Jets offensive coordinator, said yesterday he's doing a good job communicating, processing the information. And I know a lot of Jets fans are talking about, when are the Jets going to take some shots down the field? Well, they're part of their offense. We'll see what happens this week. Maybe it is the week where some things open up.
I'm very curious to see what Darnold does with a full week and a little bit more rest than what he's typically got after 3 games in 11 days. And this Jaguars defense is talented in the front. They're talented in the middle. They're talented in the back end. And let's just talk about Jacksonville. You mentioned it before. Is this defensive front is the best in the league, I'd say. I don't think that's shocking anybody. Last season, between Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson, Yannick Ngakoue, and Dante Fowler, all 4 of those guys had at least 8 sacks.
It starts in the middle. You talked to Brandon Shaw about it yesterday in the locker room that he thinks that the guys on the edge, Fowler, Ngakoue, are more speed rushers. But Calais Campbell and Marcel Darius, they can do both. They were all over the field. Jacksonville, if you were a defender last week, you were pretty upset because he gave up 3 field goals. Your offense was able only to muster 2 field goals. And the Jaguar offense wasn't even in the red zone last week. So Jacksonville defense, they've played well enough to be 3-0. Like you mentioned before, they swarm. There's not a lot of space on the field. They get after the quarterback. They're going to challenge you on all 3 levels. We're talking about the front. But remember, Telvin Smith and also Miles Jack, they might be one of the better better linebacker combos in the National Football League. Then we go back to the cornerback position, and it's like, oh, does it ever stop? You got A.J. Bouye and then Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey looks like, hey, this guy could be a stud for a long time.
The Jaguars have the 3rd overall passing defense, 4th overall in the league. And I think what really separates the front in particular with Yannick Ngakoue is that when he gets to the quarterback, he gets the ball out. He led the NFL last season in forced fumbles. And so if you remember when Sam Darnold came out of USC this year, his big thing was fumbles, keeping 2 hands on the ball. This week, he's going to see pressure.
Yep.
The Jags send the house. They send heat. You got to keep 2 hands on the ball. But this Jags defense, I mean, you look at it, they're scoring defense. I mean, they're giving up what, 14 points, 16 points a game, something crazy?
It's 14.7 points a game. And like we said, that last week against Tennessee, they lost a game giving up 9 points. And they don't give up many touchdowns when you have scoring opportunities against Jacksonville. You got to punch it in. But, yes, this might be the best defense the Jets play the entire season. For the Jets offense, you want to have balance. Cleveland, in that first half, they controlled the line of scrimmage, got their run game going. The Jets got to get the run game going with Bilal Powell and Isaiah Crowell. If you look at their numbers, they're pretty good. Bilal Powell, I think, has been phenomenal so far this year, averaging 4.5 yards a carry. Isaiah Crowell's got 4 touchdowns on the ground. You want to have that balance and then get some things going in the passing game. We know Quincy Enunwa has been the guy here early for the Jets. Who's going to be those second and third guys to step up?
You have to capitalize against the Jaguars because they have the best red zone defense in the NFL. And if you're on the road, you have to get points. And Jeremy Bates talked about it earlier this week. He talked about someone he used to work with and head coach for the Jags, Doug Marrone, and this Jacksonville defense.
What kind of challenge is Jalen Ramsey present?
The whole defense. This is an extremely aggressive defense. They play hard every single play. I've coached with Doug Marrone in the past. I know what kind of team he brings to the field. They're going to be hard-nosed. They're going to compete. They can fly around the field. They have a great pass rush. They can stop the run, and they're really good with the pass coverage. So, like any game in the National Football League, we got to play one play at a time. We got to, stay positive and stay in manageable down and distance and take what they give us.
Do you expect Ramsey to be matched up on one receiver or kind of not?
He's done both, so you kind of got to go in just and seeing their game plan, seeing what they're going to do, seeing their coverages. That's the fun part about this league. Like every week, people have 7 days, 6 days to prepare. They see what we've been doing on tape, so you got to be able to adjust during the time of the game.
Welcome back to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen here in Florham Park. Well, it's not just practice today. Sunday, pregame central presented by Pepsi. That's going to be EA and Anthony Beck down in Jacksonville. I heard there's a special guest on Sunday's show.
LC 87 Lavernius Coles is going to come stop on by. So you can tune in on all the Jets platforms at 11 a.m. Sunday from Jacksonville. And then we'll be back at you Monday night from Vanderbilt's over across the street inside the Wyndham Hamilton Park. Inside the Jets, 7 p.m., myself, Eric Coleman, and we'll get you the guests in due time.
You got to listen to all 3 shows. 2 Practice Today shows Wednesday and Friday, pregame central on Sunday, Inside the Jets Monday. We don't stop, but this is the 2-minute drill. And EA, the Jets were punched in the mouth in Week 3. You got to answer the bell.
Yeah, they got to come out swinging. This is a heavyweight fight. Jacksonville, one of the best defenses in the National Football League, if not the best. The Jets know what is at stake. Darren Lee said this week, we are laser locked on Jacksonville. It doesn't matter what has happened behind us. Steve McLendon said, hey, if you're not ready for this game, you should not be playing football. They have to match the physical intensity of Jacksonville each and every play from the get.
You just talked about it. The Jags extremely aggressive, which means the Jets are going to have to be dialed in for all 60 minutes.
Yeah, they did some good things against the Miami Dolphins and the Cleveland Browns the past couple weeks. You think about that Miami game, Sam Darnold threw for more than 300 yards passing. Against Cleveland, the Jets controlled the line of scrimmage early, and they got the running game on track, and they had a 14-0 lead. But for you to win in the National Football League, you have to play for 60 minutes. And against Jacksonville, they're going to test you for all 4 quarters. So the Jets got to be on their game throughout.
If the green and white want to be 2-2 at the quarter mark, you got to win on the early downs, not only on offense, but on defense too.
The Jets have to win early downs because the game plan for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday is we're going to run the football, we're going to try to get positive yardage, and then get Blake Bortles in comfortable situations, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, and move the football that way. You want to get Bortles in clear passing situations. Conversely, this could be the best defense Sam Darnold will face in 2018. So you got to help him, and you help him by making plays on early downs so he's not in 3rd and long against a defense that is nicknamed Jacksonville for a good reason. They get after the quarterback. You got to help Sam Darnold this week with winning the line of scrimmage, a balanced run game, winning early downs on both sides of the ball, because I don't think there are going to be a ton of turnovers in this game.
Jets-Jags Sunday, 1 p.m. That's all we have from here in Florham Park. We'll see you in Jacksonville.